A new third-party Switch 2 port is making people very nervous, underperforming, and running pretty poorly. We need to talk about it, and again, I'm going to give you my take, and I don't think it's as bad as it sounds, which is good. Plus, NateTheHate comments on my Nintendo Direct info, and we've got more updates as we move into September. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach with SwitchForce. Boom! It is September, the month of the general Nintendo Direct. And boy, has that created a lot of kerfluffle in my Twitter replies. We'll talk about NateTheHate, what he had to say, and what a bunch of people thought about that in a moment. First, Star Wars Outlaws was playable at PAX West, along with a lot of other third-party Switch 2 games. And we now have another title that's coming out, and people are saying, oh, it doesn't run good at all. The guys over at Good Vibes Gaming said, hey, we played Star Wars Outlaws. The frame rate wasn't great. They didn't let us record any type of footage. We only played in indoor areas and didn't even get to see the open world, which that game is mostly known for and comprised of. And it ran poorly. The resolution wasn't great. The frame rate wasn't great. And it seems like this port ain't great, which is very worrisome considering that the game is out this week. Okay, Star Wars Outlaws from Ubisoft is out this week. And while Star Wars Outlaws is not like a Game of the Year candidate, it's one of those big games that was early announced for Switch 2. That's like, oh, hey, cool, we're getting something like major, a big franchise we wouldn't previously have gotten on Switch 1, on Switch 2, and it's struggling. And my friends, you find yourself wishing that good-for-you nutritious food was just easy and quick? Like whether you're working, gaming, or even binging your favorite show, having to pause to go make a meal in the kitchen can be very annoying and honestly, pretty overwhelming. Thankfully, today's video is brought to you by Huel, my favorite complete meal in a bottle fuel that has everything you need to get through those long days. Look, these are delicious flavors with 35 grams of protein and backed by science, complete nutrition. It's a meal in a bottle. Does not get much easier than that. Plus, these guys are gluten-free, 100% vegan, non-GMO, naturally flavored, and contain vitamin B12, which helps reduce tiredness and fatigue, which is perfect for my long work days. Heck, my cat knows I love him so much, he's trying to buy some with his own money. If you're looking for a quick but nutritious, complete meal in a bottle, make sure to click the link in the description down below and try Huel with 15% off today using my code SWITCH15, and you can try out my two favorite Black Edition flavors, cookies and cream and strawberry banana. Let Huel fuel you when you need it most, but just don't have the time. Now, there's a slight difference here between the struggle we saw from Elden Ring and the struggle we've seen from other third-party titles, and now this one. This game is out this week. This game has no more time in the oven. They can't bake this thing till November or December and get it in a perfect pie shape. It's gotta go. Now, I will say that I do think people that are telling you that these games play terribly are over-exaggerating it a bit. You know, there's obviously the negative, positive poll on YouTube of like, what's going to be more attention grabbing? Do you be negative? Do you be positive? And then there's also some people that just really are sensitive to these things. It doesn't sound like the game is dropping to like single-digit frame rate. What they said in the Good Vibes gaming video was that it dropped below 30 at numerous times. Now, that's not ideal. That's not great. But with no footage, it's very hard to tell if this is a case of there's a few stutters that they can fix, because not this week, of course, but this demo had to be built a while back for them to bring it for public to play at PAX West. Or is it hitching and stuttering constantly? Because when they talked about Borderlands 4 and Elden Ring running so bad, I saw great footage of those games and they looked fine. Like, yes, were they perfect? No, but they didn't look terrible. They definitely didn't look unplayable. And we have this very scalable definition, this spectrum of definition on what unplayable means. Does unplayable mean the frame rate ever drops? To me, no, but maybe to someone else, yes. To me, unplayable means I can't press the inputs, I can't move around, my attacks, my movement is being severely impacted by the slowdown on screen and by the way that the game is responding sluggishly. If a game is running 30 and drops to 25 a few times during my play session, for me, I'm cool. So we're going to have to wait and see, and I'm trying to get a hold of Star Wars Outlaws so that I can make the judgment for myself and bring it to you guys and show you the actual footage, because we've got this case now of 3 big third-party games in a row, Elden Ring, Borderlands 4, and Star Wars Outlaws, where different individuals are saying these games run terribly, and then for 2 of them, we get to see the footage, and it's like, oh, Borderlands 4 looked like it was running pretty darn good. There's all these sparks and lighting elements coming off the guns and glints and shines and shimmers, and yes, it slowed down a few times, but there was also times where there's 4 or 5 enemies and you're firing rapid speed and it ran great. I'm fully confident that both Elden Ring and Borderlands 4 will run good by the time they come out. Star Wars Outlaws is a dicey one because it is coming out this week. I would have thought Ubisoft would have had dev kit for a while, that they would have prioritized making this great, but it could be the case that Ubisoft just wanted a quick cash-in port. And maybe the reason that we have not heard about Assassin's Creed Shadows on Switch 2 is because they're taking their time to learn the Switch 2 and to modulate/acclimate that game to the Switch 2's hardware so that it actually runs really good. Whereas maybe Outlaws, since that franchise has already been canceled, they were like, just throw it out there. Let's try to recoup some money, because I don't believe that game did well at all. Now, we'll have to wait and see, but we'll find out luckily very soon. And we'll also find out a bunch of other game news soon, because boy, oh boy, there is a September General Direct. And I want to talk about that for a second. We'll get to NateTheHate's comments, but so many people say, duh, SwitchForce, there's a September Direct. There's always a September Direct. I've said way more than that. If you think all I did was say there's a September Direct from Nintendo, you've missed out on quite a bit. I've gotten very, very narrowed in to a date and to a day that people say they don't have directs. But alas, then today we've got NateTheHate coming in, and he says, yes, there is a Nintendo Direct in September. When? The second week of the month, in the latter half, on or around September 11th or 12th. Well, by golly, September 11th is a Thursday, and September 12th is a Friday. And if I'm Nintendo, if I know Nintendo at all from the last 35 years of my life, that company is not going to come out and say, guess what? On Thursday, September 11th, we've got 45 minutes of exciting news on Switch 2 games. I understand 9/11 was a long time ago. That is not the PR move they want to make. They are not going to come out and tell you that 9/11 is when they're announcing all their new Switch 2 games. September 12th feels a lot better, and even though that day is very bizarre, it's a Friday, I put my claim on that date well before NateTheHate said anything. And now you got NateTheHate coming in, people are saying, oh my gosh, SwitchForce, you actually knew what you were talking about. I tried to tell so many of you. So this is much more than just saying, hey, there's a September Direct. I know. Most times, 9 out of 10 times, there's a September Direct. But that's not what I was saying. Just like that's not what I was saying with past presentations. I gave you guys the clues to figure this stuff out. And it's happening. We are 2 weeks out. That thing is going to go down. And yeah, I mean, NateTheHate tried to take a little bit of a weird angle on this. Someone said like, oh, you got to keep your game up because SwitchForce called this before you. And he had to comment and say like, I knew about him. He's saying this. I knew about Kirby being playable at Gamescom. It's like, dude, not really a competition. He tried to say previously, I believe, that I didn't really know what I was talking about. But now it seems like he's on board the SwitchForce, Trust SwitchForce train. So we'll welcome you aboard, NateTheHate. I really, I have no issue with you. I don't know why you think it's so weird or odd that I could possibly have information. But a lot of people seem to think that, I just must be getting really lucky. Nope. Anyhow, it's going to be very exciting, and it is a General Direct. I'll clarify that for y'all. Some people have asked me, like, is it a Mario Direct? Is it, a Metroid Prime 4 Direct? It's the big shebang. It's the big shebang, and it's a Friday, which is like, what the freaking heck? That's very bizarre, Nintendo doing something distinct, but I'm telling you, part of it is probably because Mario's 40th anniversary is on the 13th, and then the 11th, Thursday, when they typically do Directs, that's a no-no date. So they had to find one in the middle. They're not going to do Saturday. They don't do that. They're not going to do the 11th. They put it in there on the 12th, and bada boom, bada bing. They got big stuff to show. Big Direct, we know there's a lot of Nintendo IP that are going to be there, and we know that there's a lot of Nintendo stuff that is ready to roll, ready to go. Also a lot of third-party stuff. Also some big stuff that will hopefully continue to fill in the gaps of missing franchises, missing third parties, and games of quality. I have to imagine that games that get announced at this Direct won't suffer anywhere near as much from the problems that we've seen from Elden Ring, Borderlands, and Star Wars Outlaws, given that these companies should have had much more time to work on these and get accustomed to the Switch 2. It might even be their second game on Switch 2. It might be their third game on Switch 2. And in that case, these ports, these third-party titles, these games that get announced for 2026, they should be, or later in 2025, right? Holiday 2025. Hopefully they are in a better spot. And I've already started to see some things about what games are going to be there, what games aren't going to be there. I'll give you the lowdown as we approach. We are 2 weeks away. It's September. This is a very exciting time. Trust SwitchForce. Until next time, though, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Hope you're all doing well out there. Appreciate all of you very much. And those that have stuck by me and stuck with me and trusted me and knew that I wouldn't just mess around with people. No chance I was going to just throw you through the ringer like others might. We're locked in. We're locked in. And this direct is going to be a fun one. So until next time, everybody, thanks again. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay safe out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.